It is no secret that relations between the United Kingdom and China have soured in recent months. Already strained over issues such as Hong Kong, the country's links have suffered greatly during the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. Such issues have prompted London to reassess its relationship with Beijing, with the decision to deny Huawei an active role in Britain's 5G network, heralding a more confrontational approach to bilateral affairs. Despite this, silence over recent months has raised questions as to the Johnson administration's long-term commitment to this change. In light of this uncertainty, imminent decisions regarding the Asia-Pacific deployment of the UK's new aircraft carrier, HMS Queen Elizabeth, have taken on new significance. Set to embark on its first mission next year, the warship's potential visit to the disputed South China Sea may prove revealing as to whether Anglo-Chinese relations have indeed entered a new era of competition. Of course, it is important to remember that such a move would by no means signify the return of a previously absent player. A British military presence remains notable throughout regional security infrastructure, with a Royal Navy party in Singapore complementing a more conventional base in Brunei. The United Kingdom also remains a member of the five-power defense arrangements with Malaysia and Singapore and has even recently sailed frigates through the South China Sea. This activity reflects the continued importance of local sea lanes for the British economy, as 12% of the country's maritime trade passes through the area. Apart from the odd diplomatic protest, this reality has been largely accepted by Beijing. However, this tolerance has not been extended to the still hypothetical presence of the HMS Queen Elizabeth. Such disapproval was made clear as early as February 2019, when former Defense Minister Gavin Williamson announced that 2021 would see the warship sent to the Mediterranean, the Middle East and the Pacific region. In spite of its lack of detail, this speech ultimately scuppered planned bilateral trade talks. The tension was only made worse in September last year, with Chinese Ambassador Liu Xiaoming declaring that the future British flagship's presence in the sensitive maritime zone could be met with a military response. Beijing, therefore, has made its red lines clear. Such vocal disagreement may ultimately explain why London continues to bide its time on the matter. Certainly, while many media outlets have seized on the prospect of a geopolitical standoff, the corridors of power remain dominated by more ambiguous, nuanced discussion. This is exemplified by a July statement given by Minister of State for Defense Baroness Goldie, who stressed that no decision has yet been made on deployment to the South China Sea. Rather than simply reflecting an administrative slowdown before the traditional summer break, such wording may hint at a deliberate approach designed to leave options open in the bilateral relationship. As specialist publication Save the Royal Navy recently noted, a potential deployment to the region would not occur until at least May 2021. This leaves valuable time to redirect discussions to less confrontational sectors. Naturally, a new global Britain may wish to emphasize economic cooperation, a prospect that would likely prove equally as enticing to the Xi administration. Nevertheless, decisions regarding the finer points of HMS Queen Elizabeth's mission will have to be made soon. Aircraft carriers do not deploy on their own and often are accompanied by foreign vessels. In the case of NATO members such as the UK, decision-making may be subsequently influenced by London's allies such as the United States. Washington has already assisted in testing the vessel's capabilities, and US Marine Corps fighter jets have been confirmed to play an integral role in next year's deployment. Given continued Sino-American animosity in the South China Sea, it appears that London may have simply accepted the likelihood of Chinese pushback. This alignment with US interests is further seen in Baroness Goldie's aforementioned statement, with its stress on upholding the rules-based international system, hinting at a unified mission doctrine that may now be forming behind the scenes. The British government, fresh from its summer break, will subsequently face a substantial challenge over the coming weeks and months. While London remains eager to project its naval power in the Asia-Pacific, the government's delicate approach hints at desires to preserve its wider relationship with Beijing. China too still appears quietly enthusiastic regarding such links. Cool heads will therefore be required on both sides if the two powers are to simultaneously pursue their interests in an increasingly crowded region. Meanwhile, in a strong message to China, the Philippines have made it clear that it would turn to the US for military help during ongoing flare-ups between Manila and Beijing in the South China Sea. Philippines Foreign Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. said Manila would invoke its defense agreement with the US if China attacks its naval vessels in the disputed waters. If something happens that is beyond incursion but is, in fact, an attack on, say, a Filipino naval vessel means then I call up Washington, D.C. Since 1951, the US and the Philippines have had a mutual defense treaty that commits them to support each other in the event if either is attacked. The comments by the Philippines Foreign Secretary marks the first time President Rodrigo Duterte administration openly declaring its intention to side with the US against Chinese expansionist agenda. The Foreign Secretary said Manila would continue air patrols over the South China Sea despite Beijing calling it an illegal provocation. They can call it an illegal provocation, you cannot change their minds. They already lost the arbitral award, he said, referring to the 2016 decision by an international tribunal that ruled against China's expansive claims to the South China Sea. Locsin also said the U.S. military presence in Asia is needed as the rivalry between Washington and Beijing has intensified. He added it would be in Philippines' interest for the U.S. to maintain its military presence in the region, and he reiterated the country never stopped cooperation with its longtime security ally. We have a balance of power situation. The Philippines need the U.S. presence in Asia. The two powers are arguing over issues from trade to what the U.S. sees as aggressive moves by China's armed forces, especially in the disputed South China Sea and around Chinese-claimed Taiwan. The U.S. has long opposed China's territorial claims on the South China Sea, regularly sending warships to demonstrate freedom of navigation there. It hardened its position last month by rejecting Chinese maritime claims in the South China Sea, a move which Beijing condemned. On August 24, Philippines Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana accused China of illegally occupying Filipino maritime territory and said, China's 9-line used to claim most of the South China Sea as a fabrication. The remarks came amid a fresh row between both countries over the disputed Scarborough Shoal, which has been a flashpoint since long. The Philippines Foreign Ministry lodged a diplomatic protest last week over what it said was the illegal confiscation by China's Coast Guard of fishing equipment near the shoal. China condemned patrols in the South China Sea and declared its beyond reproach and air patrols by the Philippines infringe on its sovereignty. Beijing defended the Coast Guard's activities and urged Manila to immediately stop what it described as illegal provocations. Lorenzana made it clear that the area was within the country's exclusive economic zone. China's so-called historical rights over an area enclosed by their 9-line does not exist except in their imagination. Our fishermen are within our EEZ, and likewise our ships and planes conduct patrol sorties within our area. China are the ones who have been doing provocations by illegally occupying some features within our EEZ, hence, they have no right to claim they are enforcing their laws, he further added. In 2012, China had seized Scarborough from the Philippines following a tense standoff. The shoal, one of the region's richest fishing grounds, is located 240 kilometers west of Philippines' main island of Luzon and 650 kilometers from the nearest major Chinese landmass. The southern island province of Hainan is one of the region's richest fishing grounds. China claims most of the sea, often invoking its so-called 9-line to justify its alleged historic rights to the key waterway that is also contested by the Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, Taiwan and Brunei. It rejected a 2016 UN-backed tribunal's ruling that its claims were without legal basis.